He's the mysterious voice you hear on the radio and television, but you rarely get to see the face behind the voice. Hello, we're over here. This is an interesting development. Hello. Tonight we'll change all that when we meet the legendary Phil Baildon. But first, here's a random example of his work.
Do this to me. Get.
How would you like to cop this from an overseas call centre operator?
What the is that?
The family who claim they're abused by telco salespeople because they wouldn't sign up for a phone plan.
You don't treat people like that.
Tomorrow on A Current Affair with Tracy Grimshaw.
That's good. Okay, it's time to meet the man himself. Are you there, Phil?
That's daily. Hi.
All right, let's turn on the lights and meet him. Hello, Phil Baildon.
I've got to say, this is so unusual being on this side of the camera. It really is.
Mate, how does someone actually become a voiceover artist?
Oh, where do I start? There are so many avenues. Radio is always a good stomping ground to start with, I think. I know a lot of voice artists as well who are actors, and they've been on TV and dramas for years. I've done a mixture of both. So I was on radio for years. I was also involved in TV drama for years. And I suppose this is my 16th year now doing voiceovers, and it's such a lovely way of life. It really is.
So, Phil, we know you each night as the voice of A Current Affair.
Yes.
What else have you done?
Oh, look, I do so much. Occasionally there are promos for Today FM, for Fox FM, a lot of radio stations around the country, as well as a lot of commercials as well through agents that I have both here in Sydney and overseas.
Okay, and when you're doing a voiceover, is it like acting?
Look, it certainly can be. There's a lot of acting involved, particularly if it's a theatrical trailer for a movie or something similar. So yeah, there's a certain amount of acting, but mostly it's pretty straightforward, particularly with the likes of A Current Affair.
Phil, Brett McLeod here. And
hi, Brett.
Listening to you now, of course, your voice is different to what we're used to.
Yes.
So just give me an example of how you get into that voice for the A Current Affair promo.
Do you know what I do? I use my finger a lot and I point it hard.
Right.
And sometimes I even thump the desk to the point I have to re-record it. But mostly when I'm telling a story like, hell no we won't, and I really give it to you. Tonight on A Current Affair, off we go.
That's not how you do it. Give us the tonight on A Current Affair.
Tonight on A Current Affair.
See?
And there it is.
Yeah.
Now you can hear it.
Yeah.
But do you find when you're doing movie promos, for example, have you seen that? There's a great sketch, and I wish I should have thought of it sooner, about the 5 voiceover guys who get into a limousine. And there's a different tone for each of them, because in the States, there were about 5 guys who did all the movie promos, including the guy who does all the promos that start, "In a world." Oh, yeah. Do you find that there are certain types of promo that suit you, and certain ones where you thought, actually, I'm not the right guy for this?
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, you usually find you're not the right guy when you're halfway through it, thinking, I just can't get this read or nail this read. And with legends like those guys that you've spoken about, one unfortunately now has passed away. But one of the guys is an Australian guy, Nick Tate, who bases himself out of Sydney these days.
That's right.
One of the interesting things about Phil is when you are casting a promo from a producer's point of view, you need some shows, you know, like you have a big 60 minutes voiceover, and we have Matthew O'Sullivan, who replaced Tim Elliott, who passed on a few years ago, who, you know, has that distinct voice for 60 minutes promos. But what's great about Phil, and maybe you don't want to listen to this, Phil, is that Phil has such a range. Because A Current Affair is the kind of program that has such a range of stories. You can be doing a consumer story, you can be doing a Tracy Grimshaw exclusive interview, you can be doing the woman alleging Rolf Harris has done something wrong to her. So there's such a range, like no other program pretty much that you would do. And Phil has to be able to tonally fit all of that, you know, be able to go hard, be able to pull it back and do the lighter. Or sometimes it's a get a load of this type promo, you know. So, Phil, do you find it hard to do that whole range? Is it about direction, or do you know where to hit them now?
Look, it's about direction to a large degree too, and you're relying on your producer to be able to give you the information about the story that you're trying to sell, because that's what you're doing, you're selling the story. So if it is a heartfelt story, of course we go that way with the read. If it's something that's a little more outrageous or a little more, what shall I say, commercial, well, I go that way as well. So it really just depends on the background that I'm given from the producer.
Now, Phil, obviously a lot of people think, yeah, I can do that. How hard is it to do voiceover work?
So many people say they can do that. And you know what? So many people probably could do it, but it involves a lot of practice. And most people are practicing for many, many years. I was in radio for 15 years before I jumped across to TV. So from that point of view, and I've been doing this now 16 years, so it gives you some idea of my vintage. However, it takes a lot of practice, and that's the only thing I can suggest to any young person wanting to break into this market, is to just get in there, get as much experience as you can, either in radio or in drama, TV drama, or even stage acting as well, or all of the above, and you'll find you'll cut yourself out a career that's second to none.
But Phil, it is a skill because it's a high-paying job. You know, voiceover artists can earn quite a bit of money just for coming in and reading a 30-second commercial.
Yes.
So it is a skill that obviously needs to be refined.
Oh, look, absolutely. And look, just as easily too, the producer or the person making the decisions could turn around and say, sorry man, we don't like you, see you later. So then suddenly a high-paid job's out the window.
Well, look, we've got another example of Phil's work. We heard one promo. Let's take a look at another that gives us an idea of his scope.
Great.
Meet William, a 4-year-old boy struggling with autism. His parents want you to see their video diaries to see what happens when he has a meltdown. Now, the controversial treatment that's turning their lives around. A current affair tonight.
Actually, Phil, just watching that has prompted me on something.
Yeah.
With a lot of promos that voiceover artists do, a lot of the time they get to work to the actual promo. So the producer will cut it and leave gaps for the voiceover artist to fill in.
Yes.
But because of the fast turnaround of something like a current affair promos, you actually don't get to see the story or the vision or the promo or anything like that when you're voicing it. You're doing what we call a cold voiceover.
Yes, no, that's right. And everything else is then added later. So not only the vision, but also the music behind me, etc. So I've got really no idea on how the end product is going to finish up. I put a lot of trust in producers, Robert.
And sometimes they let you down.
Actually,
No,
I'm wondering,
look,
Phil,
not a lot.
do you ever get recognised? As
No,
in, do people
oh,
ever
yes.
stop you and say, hang on, I know you from somewhere?
It's really funny because when you're in the supermarket or in a situation where you can make a comment like that, albeit flippant, a lot of cases, a lot of people turn around and say, hey, I know you, and then they reconsider and think, no, I don't know you at all.
I got
yes,
recognised once by my voice, when I was in radio, I got once recognised by my voice in a fish and chip shop. When I put in my order, and the girl taking the order said, wait a minute, I'm not going to look at you, but
Did
then
you say,
make your order again.
Thank you, I'm Brett McLeod, 9 News.
No, this is pre-9 News. No, she said, I'm not going to look at you, but put your order in again. She turned away and I did. She said, oh, do you work at 3AW? Yeah, that's right. That was
there
it,
you are.
the one time.
Fabulous. Well, Phil, thank you very much. It has been a true insight. I appreciate you coming in and lifting the veil and showing us your face. You are a good man, and may there be many, many, many years of good work for you.
Yeah, thank you, Robert.
Good on you, Phil. Thank you.
Cheers, bye.
He's a good man, isn't he?
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating career.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very, very small market. There's a handful of people that do it and a lot of people who would. And it's one of those things too that I think, well, I've never done it for a living, but I think it's one of those things where everyone can do it until you actually sit down and try doing that voice the way that guys like Phil do. There's a nuance to it that's beyond most of us.
And that's why you'll find that producers go to the same people because they know what they can do and they know what they can deliver. Phil is a legend. I mean, seriously, he can do pretty much anything. He may talk it down himself, but yeah, he can do a lot.
Imagine how many friends of friends and distant relatives want him to MC their weddings.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It'd
Or
be
do
a
his
hot
message
demand.
service on the phone.
Exactly. Yes.
Actually, I keep meaning to get him to do that.